Freeride on an e-bike. Have you ever heard such a ridiculous proposition? But today we're joined with Britain's oldest freerider, Chris Smith, and he's going to show us how to go big on an e-bike. Chris, you've been free riding for 20 years. How does it differ between a normal bike and an e-bike, which is probably about twice the weight? What's the differences in technique? Well, what's the big picture stuff you've got to think about?
Yeah, it's kind of varies. Like the e-bike seems to carry the speed a lot better for the big jumps. It's a lot more stable. And I just find, yeah, just like I'm doing more of what I do. You know, I can do repeated laps of, say there's a big hit. Yeah. You know, a big jump over the quarry. It takes me 10 minutes to push up. I can go up 2 minutes, you know, a minute in this thing and do it 10 times.
Are you telling me that it makes total sense for free riders to be using e-bikes to do their training?
No, I think it's a good way of getting more riding done, you know, getting more, you know, as I mentioned, you know, you're just hitting those jumps more and more. And then obviously the more you do something, the better you get at it. So.
I kind of got a bit of a hint there. You actually go bigger on an e-bike than on a non-e-bike.
I think with the weight and the combined like rolling weight and the mass and everything all combined, yeah, it's kind of like just a massive inertia, and when that goes off big takeoffs, you know, when you're hitting them at like 30 miles an hour, that going, it just literally flies, as you're going to see later on. Yeah.
Right, let's start off with some more basics, things that are more achievable for you guys. How about, like now the Don has gone through how to manual, how about we take that a stage further and get 3 rollers in succession? Do you want to take us through how to do this?
Yeah, I mean, we can do that for sure.
First up, Chris, what's the basic thing you've got to think about when you're taking an e-bike through some rollers like this?
Basically, it's that low down mass. That battery and that motor is really going to want to pull that front end down. It's going to compress that suspension even harder in those compressions between the rollers, so it's really going to affect that. So you have to put that max effort in and pulling with your arms and pushing with your legs, really overemphasizing that skill already.
So a bit more physical on e-bike, get stuck in there. So Chris, you've rolled in. Now this is a big moment in time, the first roller. What are you thinking when you hit this bit here?
So yeah, first roller is the actual key to the whole section. This is where you need to make that big effort of lifting that front wheel, getting that motor and battery nice and high. You want it actually to be higher than lower. You don't want to be fighting the weight of that battery and the motor. You want to be higher and letting it drop rather than trying to pull all that weight up. So max effort here, make it happen on the next one.
So we're now in the compression of the rollers. This is kind of stage 2 of the move. What's happening in this part?
So you've got all that weight of the battery and the motor trying to pull that front end down. That's when you really need to be pulling that front end up, pushing through your legs and getting ready for the next roller to repeat the process of kind of what we've done on the first.
And what about your brakes? What's happening with your braking through this?
Braking, it's almost, if you're in that right position, you shouldn't have to do too much, but just be, as I say, more rather than less on this, because that weight is really...
I guess it's like having a rock underneath you. You've got to pull back and balance you out, right?
Yeah, and you're fighting that suspension as well, as always. You know, even on a standard bike, you've got that suspension compressing. And
I guess what we're talking about is practice to get that sweet
spot.
Just do
2 and then do 3 and then do 4.
Yeah, and like on an e-bike, you can go back up and do it again. Oh, Chris, 10-foot gap. I'm thinking just get across there to the other side, right?
Nah, just because you're on an e-bike doesn't mean you don't have to do it with style. I mean, you could big whip in, big table out.
Yeah?
Yeah.
On this?
Yeah.
Oh, crikey. Go on then, show me. All right, Chris, you're talking about this style business. Is there a progression to style and how you start?
Yeah, I think you just need to work on your own style, really.
Where you dress?
Yeah. Just like imitating, you know, find your favourite rider and try and maybe like imitate their style a little bit.
Come on, you've got to start off somewhere. What are you going to begin by doing? Turning the handlebars, no hander? What are you doing to start
just
with?
Building up like really slowly. I think the first sort of stuff I started doing was, literally turning that handlebars, just working on little, you know, bar turns literally, and then just going a little bit more sideways and taking, you know, one hand off, taking 1 foot off, no foots, and then that progressed to bigger, you know, bigger things.
So you're talking confidence, baby steps, bit at a time, and get it in the bag, right? Wow, Chris, I'm loving the flow of this trail. I'm actually getting my helmet and pads.
Oh my God, I can't wait to see this.
Oh my God, it's like a cavern. It's ridiculous. No way am I getting anywhere near that. Whoa, fair dues. That's 30 feet with about a 10-foot transition. But ultimately, it's the same basics as when you ride in, say, a 4-foot set, right?
Exactly, yeah.
You're dealing with generating the speed out of the ground. But how do you actually get to a position where you're taking your hands off the handlebars 40 feet in the air?
I suppose it's just years of messing around on like dirt jump hardtails, just pulling all that experience and the rights and the wrongs I've done from that, you know, numerous crashes and those over the years, and just pulling all that experience and just putting it all into one package, you know, and it just works.
So yeah, well, should we get back to the basics then? Can we kind of wind ourselves back and see what actually is possible for you guys to learn on your e-bike? We've climbed down off the Matterhorn to something a bit easier on the eye. 10 foot, but it's a tabletop, no gap. But the processes are the same here as they are up on that cliff, right?
Exactly, yeah. But literally, this is kind of like what I started off doing.
Right, okay.
It's a safe jump. You can jump an inch, you can jump 10 feet. You can work your way up halfway, quarter way.
Classic progression tabletop,
exactly,
right?
Nice and safe, yeah.
What I love about this is the fact that you're hitting this upslope and you can see the landing. You're not looking miles into the tree canopy. Yeah. So it feels safer on the eye, right? When you're hitting something like this.
Exactly, it's a lot less intimidating. Real basic technique. You're coming in, pedals level, rolling speed, coming in, loading that bike up, pushing down into the bike, loading that suspension up all the way up the lip. As soon as you get that front wheel out the lip, you want to let that spring go, basically.
Just having a bit of fun.
Yeah.
Having a bit of fun with it.
And just, as I say, work out halfway, 3/4 of the way, then hit that sweet spot, which is the top of the knuckle.
So Chris, what are we talking here when it comes to e-bike specifics? I guess it's the same as any approach to tabletops. There's the approach of, actually, I'm going to come into this jump, I'm actually going to get my wheels off the ground and get in the air, as opposed to, do you know what? I just want to get to the other side as quickly as possible, which is probably my approach to jumps like this.
Yeah, I think where you look, especially on takeoff, you know, if you're looking and you look down here, you're going to land here. But if you come in committed, that speed, loading that bike up, the suspension, really squashing it, getting in your head here, commitment, and sending it to that landing, you'll do it.
You're going to get up in the air and down there.
Yeah, that bike will pop and just send you straight.
It's just belief, right?
Exactly.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Wow, this looks interesting, Chris. One of those drop-offs you see in every bike park in the country.
Yeah. This one's a bit bigger though.
Ah, right. Good job that we walked into this, not just sent it off it, because that's like 30, 35 feet.
It's pretty tasty, this one. It's quite blind as you come in as well.
This shows the importance of walking into stuff before hitting it, right?
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
Because that is a big off happening if you go off here, right?
It's quite a short landing on that as well. If you over jump that on an e-bike, you are definitely going to die, because that impact is...
You might not die, you're going to get really hurt quite badly.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty big.
So let's, what are we going to do? Let's work up, let's build this up in it. Should we go for something smaller first of all? Now this is a bit more like it, almost a fly-off curb, about calf height, no gap to clear. Is this the kind of place people should be learning how to do drop-offs on their e-bike?
Yeah, something like this, or maybe sort of half the height of this. Good place to practice that technique.
What is the technique?
Technique, is you're coming in, we want to be freewheeling, getting those pedals level, coming up to the lip, give those forks a little squish and a pop off the lip, carry out that transition nice and flat, and then whilst you're coming into the landing, slightly nose that bike in.
Can I stop you there? Can I stop you there? You make it sound so easy. Where's your eyes looking at?
So we're looking, as we come in, we're just sort of focusing forward. We have a quick glance down at the landing to make sure, you know, got no roots.
But surely I'm going to be looking at the end of the takeoff, not in the middle of the air.
As you come in, I tend to focus more. Yeah, I have a quick glance at the end of the takeoff, but I'm looking down at the landing just to make sure I've got that speed and distance.
Yeah, and because the landing is there, you haven't got to clear anything.
No, exactly.
It's a good starting point.
Yeah,
whereas
go off this 1 mile an hour, you know, just work your way up, just nice and slow. And
because that where maybe people get confused, because you've got big drop-offs where you've actually got to go, you've got to clear a gap.
Yeah.
Whereas on something like this, it is simple as going off curb.
Yeah, remember, the higher you go, the further you go as well. So literally, you need to be going slow on these things.
Oof, crikey, thanks Chris.
No worries.
I didn't quite expect that level of ambition on an e-bike today. But look, it comes back to the basics. Commitment, confidence, and progression. Build
Practice,
things up
sure, yeah.
slowly, bit by
Yeah,
bit,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. Anyone can do it. It's just literally spending that time on the bike. You know, you can't just jump on an e-bike and expect to be able to do this stuff, because it isn't going to happen. You need to spend those years. You literally 20 years of practice has got me this far and being able to do this stuff on these bikes.
That last one was big. What was it?
Yeah.
45 feet?
Yeah, it's 40, 45 foot. Yeah, it's pretty big and a big kicker. And you're actually hitting these jumps. I'm looking at my speedo and you're going
40
like,
mile an hour?
Yeah, close to 35, 40 mile an hour on those big jumps. So yeah.
Great, so there you go. Today I've seen some of the most impressive skills and style I've ever seen on an e-bike. If you want to see more e-bike skill, have a look at e-bike versus downhill, which we did in Italy down here, and also e-bike versus enduro. Please give us a thumbs up and let us know your feedback and thoughts on today's video with Chris Smith, oldest freerider in the world.
Youngest e-bike freerider though,
Yeah,
do you think?
totally.
Gotta be.
And don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you've not done so already.